3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And I'm going to do something I've never done before in one of these. And I'm going to begin by reading a gorgeous email I got from a client earlier today. And if you're on my email list at michaelneill.org, then you will have read a version of this. But I think you'll understand why I'm reading it by the time we're done. And it begins, warning, working with Michael Neill will change your life, period, full stop. If you are perfectly happy, want for nothing, don't want to change anything in your life, and are never going to start any new projects or creative pursuits ever again, then working with Michael is not for you. If you would like a deeper, more effortless experience of life where your creative visions take on lives of their own and you find yourself living in an easy, joyful flow you can't quite believe, then, dear reader, read on, because working with Michael might be just the thing for you. In reflecting on the time I spent working with Michael, what comes to me is profound gratitude and thankfulness. Gratitude for his unending knowing that all humans have unlimited potential and possibility available to them at all times. This includes me. Thankfulness that I listened to my own knowing that said, do this. Do it now. I'm so immensely glad I did. I'd initially thought that I wanted to work with Michael to transform my 2-location chiropractic wellness practice into a larger coaching and teaching business, helping people across the globe to realize the depth of their astounding potential. I still do, and I am. My new coaching practice is thriving, and clients are completely transforming their own lives. The depth of my impact with clients is what I dreamed of, and growing. However, it was all the many unexpected, amazing things that happened along the way that are why I am so grateful and thankful. Turns out, when you really truly align yourself with life, magic happens. My relationship with my kids and my husband went from good to stellar to beyond. Even my cat feels the love in the house and is changed by it. I healed 7 years of permanent brain injury and constant weird neurological symptoms and daily almost constant panic disorder. This was not supposed to be possible, so I'd stopped talking about it or even hoping it could change. I was told it was as if I'd lost a leg, it would not regrow. All my symptoms, diagnoses, and challenges vanished. As a result, I can do stuff again. I can watch movies again, so many to catch up on. I can listen to music and cook in my kitchen at the same time. I can put the kids to bed. My vision improved. My hearing improved. I can eat any food I want. I'm much less sensitive to things like caffeine. Random body things have healed. I suspect that I haven't yet noticed all of the things that I can now do freely. I'm not scared anymore. I can be with my mother in immense love and understanding. All the years of hurt and fear as if they'd never been. How is this possible? I feel younger than I have in a while, lighter. I fell in love with life all over again and again. I fell in love with people. With my business as it is and as I'm creating it to be, I fell in love with joy. I discovered that I love Earl Grey tea and that there's this flourless chocolate cake in London that I dream about. The pipe organ music at St. Paul's Cathedral is exquisite and will transport you if you let it. I discovered that I am extremely well equipped for anything in life. I can create anything I can dream up. And what comes to me to dream up is more wonderful and more fantastic than I knew. When I looked at the heart of life, I found a deep, never-ending well of love. I fell into it and drowned. You can too. Dr. Sarah O'Neill. Now, here's what's interesting to me. If I'd gotten this email a month ago, I probably wouldn't have shared it. I certainly wouldn't have shared it on a podcast, even if I'd shared it on the website. I would have been too self-conscious. I would have been worried that you're sitting there right now judging me, perceiving it as, self-aggrandizing, and I'd be too worried to share what's possible. Because what if somebody else goes, can he heal people? Oh, okay, well, I need healing. People would mock it or crave it or that they'd feel shame if they hadn't been able to change their conditions, or like failures if, despite their best efforts, they're not experiencing that kind of change and positivity in their lives. But the reason that I wanted to share it is because something fundamental has changed. And what's changed is I've fallen back in love with miracles. Now, let me explain what I mean as a miracle. Not a religious thing. A miracle, as I am talking about a miracle, is the experience of unearned grace. It's where beautiful things happen and you can't see why. There's a French poet, Théophile Gautier, and he said something that roughly translates to, miracles are God's way of remaining anonymous. And for me, when I first came across this understanding that I talk about every week on this podcast, my experience of seeing my nature after more than 20 years struggling with depression, struggling with suicidal ideation, was miraculous. It wasn't completely out of nowhere. It was prompted by hearing the Scottish mystic Sid Banks say, everyone is sitting in the middle of mental health, they just don't know it. But those words can't account for the dropping away of the decades of struggle and suffering, and my absolute clarity from that moment forward that there was nothing wrong with me, and there never had been. Now, for years, I did talk openly about that. And I talked about the miraculous potential of this understanding that we live in a 100% thought-created experience of reality. But we think we're living in the experience of our circumstances. That we're made of the energy and intelligence of life, and if we let it, this deeper mind will guide us in everything that we do. That in any moment, any one of the 7.8 billion dreams of separate realities can end in a simple act of awakening. But about 8 years ago, I stopped talking about miracles. I started focusing on the practical, that anyone could tap into an experience of less stress and more happiness and better relationships and higher levels of productivity. I went from describing my work as the space where miracles happen to the equally accurate, but kind of way more generic, unleashing the human potential with intelligence, humor, and heart. And it was a really well-intended shift. It came from my noticing that while there were always people who experienced miraculous shifts in their inner world, there were also always people who just weren't getting the same kind of insights, or their insights were subtler or less dramatic. That for each person that read one of my books or listened to my podcast or came on a program or worked with me one-on-one whose life completely changed in form, there were other people whose conditions didn't, or they got worse. And there was a cycle that started to feel inevitable to me, where I would offer hope for a miracle because I would talk about the nature of change and how literally change is closer than breath. And then if whatever specifically desired outcome that they had didn't appear with whatever time frame they decided it was supposed to happen inside of, there would be disappointment, or there would be shame, or there would be blame. And mostly, in fairness, people were pretty kind about it. And they kind of took the blame on themselves and went, oh, well, I guess I'm just not able to change. I get that people can change, but I can't change. And then there were always some who were like, nah, you're a charlatan, you're a fake, and I could feel the pain behind it. I could feel the sense of expectation and disappointment behind it. And I can see that it was, in my mind, out of the goodness of my own heart, that I just stopped talking about it that way. But here's the thing. Here's why I've fallen back in love with miracles, because they just keep happening. Despite my thinking I've withdrawn the invitation, people keep waking up. People fill up with love to the point where they're overflowing. And guess what happens? Their relationships take off. People reconnect with hope. Hope, by the way, not expectation. Hope is just living in a feeling of possibility. And when you enter into that feeling of possibility, the world you live in changes. And I really hope this is not you, but if it is, I've talked to so many people over the years, and often after the fact, who just were living in a world that was so bleak, that looked so hopeless to them, that suicide just looked like a good idea. Suicide looked like the smart thing instead of a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But then they caught hope. They caught a glimpse of another world. And that whole idea just started to seem crazy to them. Sometimes people will just wake up from the dream of fear. They'll realize, oh, fear is just my mind's way of going, shh, it's okay, just stop. The way you're thinking right now is not helping. And then in that quiet, they'd get inspired and they'd launch a new business, or they'd revitalize the business that they're in, and things would take off for them. And I'm talking about the ones that I'm not kind of a little embarrassed to talking about. I'm not talking about the ones like the woman who was in one of our programs, and her boyfriend had a mental disorder that was meant to be incurable and untreatable. And in the moment, she saw something new. She found out a few hours later that her boyfriend, who was on another continent, his condition changed completely. So here's why I'm sharing this today. Here's why I want to say this. Here's why I wrote this. Here's why I'm talking about this. I want to restate an invitation. And it's an invitation to you, and it's my invitation to the universe. And I want to be really clear. This is not something that is only available through me and my teaching. Truth is truth. Truth is everywhere. Truth can take any form. But here's the thing. The truth of this understanding, the truth of you, is a space where miracles happen. Are you ready to begin? Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.